What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of 10-Minute Touch Warmup, an NCAA Championship countdown that we are doing ahead of the national championship this week in Fort Worth. This is the On the Floor with Liv and Core podcast. I'm Core, that's Liv, and we have a very special guest for you guys. We have head coach of the University of Alabama, Ashley Johnston Priess. Ashley, thank you so much for being here today. It means so much to us.
Of course, I'm so excited. I feel like I'm about to compete with like time on the clock. We're ready to go. Adrenaline rush is going. Like I'm ready.
Yes. Are you saying you're gonna do a vault this week? Because we all loved your vault back in the day, but like, if this is no, we don't.
There's not enough tape that can get these ankles ready to go at this point. Like no
Amen.
bueno.
Amen. Amen. All right, you said it. We're gonna do that 10-minute countdown clock for this touch warm up moment, and we cannot wait to hear a little bit more about how you guys feel going into this week. But Olivia, are you ready? We're gonna start the clock.
Ready, hit me with it. I have my tape on, tiger paws. I'm good. Woo.
Here we go. In three, two, one, go for it.
Ashley, what a remarkable regionals for your team. And we just talked to Chloe and she told us a little bit about, the team had a rough year, but it just came together at the right times. Can you talk to us about this group of women and what that moment meant for you all leading into this weekend?
Absolutely. We've really been talking about it's been a growing year. We like to talk about it as it's a year of growth, learning lessons. And you know what? Like, you don't learn unless you face a hard moment. And our team has faced hard moment after hard moment, starting with a lot of things that were just outside of their control. There was sicknesses, there were injuries, just a lot of different dynamics at play where we honestly had some really good meets, but we would just count one or two uncharacteristic mistakes that just really held us back from making a statement that we were a top team in the country. And so, that of course escalated some outside noise, people that had a lot of opinions about what Alabama gymnastics was going to do this year. And I'm just so proud of our team for really turning down the outside noise and turning up the inner volume of passion, igniting a fire to overcome any and all doubters and find a way to make a statement. And so really like their story, their journey of fight, resilience, and grit is one that should go down for the textbooks. And I just want everybody to rally around this squad that they were able to come out, compete at their best in the most important moment of the year and be amazing. They did that at SECs, they did that at regionals, and they have earned their spot to be one of the top 8 teams in the country.
We literally just said this with Chloe that no one, I know there was noise, I know there was chatter, but no one should ever count out the University of Alabama because at the end of the day, there is a culture and a standard that exists in Tuscaloosa and that you have carried over from past coaching staffs that culture is not even just winning, but there's an upright culture of character, of integrity, of hard work, of resilience. And you have really, yes, the noise on like the perseverance and the resilience this season feels a little like a more important core value of your program. But man, like no one should ever count you out. And I'll speak for myself and I'll speak for Olivia. Like we were not surprised when you guys qualified on to the national championship because no one should count you guys out at all in that conversation. And that resilience and perseverance has been one that we've been very inspired by. So I'm sure it comes from the top, and kudos to your leadership in continuing to, you used words like quiet that noise, increase the your inner volume. But one thing that we just heard from Chloe was there was a very special guest at practice today that came in. So, can you share a little bit more about having Coach Saban in at practice in the final practice before you guys head off to Fort Worth?
Absolutely. You talked about how there's a standard and a responsibility and excitement around what Alabama gymnastics is going to do in the postseason. And I think really what it comes down to is there's a belief system. Like there is truly a belief system within our culture and our program that we are at our best right now. And a lot of that does come back to Coach Saban and really the culture of excellence that he really has helped lead in our Alabama department. And so he came on Zoom. He, of course, isn't on campus right now,
True,
but
true.
was just amazing. I mean, when our team walked into the room, I warned Coach Saban. I was like, you're going to get 7 seconds of pure shrieking. Like, people are going to lose their minds for a couple of seconds before they kind of settle into what's going on here. And it was exactly that. And I think it was Gabby Gladio that once they started freaking out a little bit, she was like, everybody be quiet and listen. Right? Because you don't get Coach Saban to just speak life into you every day. And like, what an honor and an opportunity to have the GOAT, the legend, somebody that is just rich in wisdom and so many just insightful, encouraging words to pour into our team. And it was just really an amazing moment, I think, for our team to hear that their story has actually touched and impacted people around them as well. And I think that alone just continues to ignite that relentless pursuit to be the best version of themselves and just to focus on that and not on anything else going on. And if they can go out, play their hearts out, do the best that they possibly can, like they're going to leave this season feeling really dang good about what they did this year.
Yes.
That's
Period.
amazing. That's amazing. I don't know. I would probably scream if I had the opportunity to hear from Coach Saban. So I completely relate to that moment. So I wanted to ask you, we just talked to Chloe and she opened up to us about a little bit of a mental struggle that she had with bars this year. And it was so great how she brought it up to court. It was very authentic and she is just wonderful. And it was so authentic the way that she felt comfortable to share that. And she mentioned that just one day she just wasn't able to do bars after just like a slip up or something. And she really struggled with it. And the way she's overcome that and how she's contributed, not just overcoming it, but contributing in the lineup successfully and safely. Can you just talk to us a little bit about that experience for her and for you as her coach and what you saw from her in that?
Yeah. I think this happens pretty frequently actually for gymnastics where, we're all pretty wired to be perfectionists. We want to get that perfect 10.0. We want to be exactly the same every single time, hitting on all cylinders. And the reality is like it's just not possible. And we talk about this paralysis by analysis. And when you really break it down too much and you get so micro fixated on all these little things, you start to kind of lose sight of the process. And I think Chloe went through that this summer where it's very much in her nature to get it right every time, no matter what. If it takes 279 times, then she will do 280. And she wants to be great and has this passion, and it is absolutely her strength in an area that has been so influential for our team, but it's also the thing that she battles with. And I'm really proud of how she just speaks into that vulnerability and is real and is a human because I think so many people are going through that. And I think the recipe for her was putting joy back into it and really playing gymnastics and finding other ways to keep her mind in the process versus so fixated on the outcome. And so we've done a lot of different things to bring games, to bring challenges, to bring just different elements into her gymnastics practices to help her stay focused on process. And that's really been what has allowed her to break through, find her new normal, and also have the tools to be able to step into that in the biggest, most stressful, intense moments. She's so playful in her approach, and you can probably see that even in regional championships. You'll see that at Elite Eight. She might be drawing a picture on the sideline because that's what helps her settle into her norm, where she just goes up and plays gymnastics.
It's amazing. I mean, you say joy, and it is exactly what we just experienced in her 10 minutes that we got to be with her. And, we talk a lot about just sharing stories, and we encouraged her afterwards. We thanked her for her vulnerability, because that vulnerability, you never know who that's going to touch, and you never how that's going to touch someone. And the vulnerability obviously comes with a story, right? It was over the summer, and she told us there was a moment in October when, it all just came back to her and she feels good. It's obviously easier to talk about it on this side of things, but she recognizes that the vulnerability can help someone. And I think that's what's so special about collegiate gymnastics right now is there are a lot of incredible student athletes that are currently competing that have unbelievable stories. One of the story, like we've actually had two others. We had Brooklyn Moores and Haley Bryant on earlier this week, and they both communicated to us that they have not back tumbled since compulsory days. And that storyline is one that we hope that young kids can hear and see a little picture of the creativity through communication that can be a life lesson they can take forever. So helping her find that joy again in what she's facing is a story that is going to go way beyond the four walls of the Tuscaloosa University of Alabama gymnastics gym to create finding Chloe again in that moment. And so we thank you for everything that you're sharing about her as well.
Oh, I appreciate that. I think that's what's so great about our sport and where we're at is we have so many innovators in this world. We have people like Chloe who, and so many others, right? I'm sure Haley's like this, Brooklyn's like this, where you don't have to fit into a box, right? It's not a one type of gymnast fits all programs. Like we are constantly innovating and evolving. Like what does greatness look like? And there's still more in store for our sport, for our athletes, for our programs. And I think the competitiveness across the board and how people are investing in gymnastics and women's sports. It's so moving. And by investing in gymnastics, like you're investing in future CEOs and future doctors and people that are like truly changing the world. And I don't want that to sound dramatic, but I really feel that way, right? Like these people like Chloe who are thinking outside the box, finding ways to overcome obstacles, using creative thinking to find a different way to thrive when there's no recipe for it. You weren't taught growing up that you were going to be, right, a Haley Bryant, the top gymnast in the NCAA by not going backwards, right? She had to be innovative. She had to think outside the box. She had to master her own craft to figure out what that was going to look like. And I just think it's such a great message and such a great story for people to see, learn from, and realize that the only limits we put on ourselves, it's the one that we place in front of us. Once you kind of get out of that, you realize that you're the owner of this thing. You're driving the own ship, and the sky's the limit.
Absolutely. I love that. That's phenomenal. And honestly, Olivia's final question, you kind of just answered a piece of it, but I would be curious to hear her response. Olivia, take us home.
Yeah, I think with what's happening now in gymnastics, there's eyes on the sport. It's growing, and that growth is really exciting. But in order to have that growth, you need to make sure people are watching and seeing what's going on and understanding not necessarily the nitty gritty of gymnastics, but that it's bigger than what the sport is. And I think a lot of people feel connected to that with other sports. So, my question for you is what is something that you would tell a new fan of gymnastics to get them to come to a meet or engaged with the sport? To kind of understand some of this stuff you're talking about with the women in the gym and the growth and what would you tell them to get them to become a fan?
Yeah, we talk about even in our marketing meetings, like what do we want every fan to experience when they come to Coleman Coliseum, when they watch a meet for the first time, and we always say like I want somebody to not want to leave their seat. Like at the final floor routine, I want somebody to be like, that was the most exciting 2 hours of my life. Tell me more. Right? Because the new fan doesn't really know what is a 99 or a 9925 or a 9975. What does that mean? But there is there is an electric vibe and atmosphere where you see the connection amongst each team, and your initial thought is like, wow, that was the best experience, and I want more. And that means storylines. That means figuring out like the ins and outs of each person's journey, of your team's journey. And I love what you guys are doing here and you bringing those stories alive. And I hope we continue to do that and that spreads across the country because these women, I mean, they have poured their heart and soul into this, and their stories are so captivating. And I want more people to hear it. I want more people to see what progress over perfection looks like. Because when you see the highlight reels, when you see their Instagrams, right, you see the perfection for the most part. But there's been so much more than that. And it's the process and it's the journey that I think makes somebody really fall in love with it, and realize what great mentors, what great role models these ladies really are.
Amazing. A great answer. A
Mhm.
great answer. You know,
Passionate about this one. And, of course, I grew up and came to Bama, competed for Sarah Patterson, who obviously ran an amazing, legendary program. But, like, what I remember her most for is just what a difference maker she was in the community, in spreading college gymnastics, and bringing it to the top of everybody's list of like gymnastics is the premier women's sport, and we're going to tell everybody about it. And so I just have so much respect for her, for all the other trailblazers that came through that time frame to bring gymnastics to this level. And now I feel such a huge responsibility and passion to bring it to the next level.
yeah.
So just to really appreciate what you guys are doing to help that as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I think what's special is, I was on the competition floor when you were competing, and then I kind of crossed over with Olivia, but the three of us actually had those trailblazers mentor us in our gymnastics experience. And there comes with a level of respect that comes from that, but also like I'm very humbled to know that like if it weren't for the examples of those who came before us, like a moment like this, knowing that sharing story is important and knowing that creating buzz to create fan engagement is important, like I might not have this like intuition, this gut feeling that telling these stories and chatting with you for 10 minutes before the day before you leave for the national championship perhaps could create another fan to attend, to watch, to increase all of the things that for me is helping to create memories and moments for the student athletes that are currently competing. I want to do as much as I can to create amazing memories and moments for them. And in turn, those amazing memories and moments are going to turn into momentum shifters and dream chasers of the young generation that are going to have heroes to look up to and events to attend that just make them feel more alive and more excited about life. So I think the three of us can all stack hands and know that, those that came before us deserve a lot of credit. But
I
we're
just got chills when you said that. That was beautiful. Thank you for that.
thank you for continuing, right? Like we knew that when we reached out to 20 friends this week ahead of nationals, it was going to be tricky, but we've gotten such an amazing response from you all because I know that everyone in the college gymnastics sphere, the staff, the student athletes, the external staff, are just incredibly passionate about being in this phase that we are in right now of continuing to grassroots market and create the buzz that we need to for what you referred to as the premier women's sport. Because I believe it, we all believe it, and we're going to keep going.
Let's do it.
Let's
Let's
do
What's
it.
do it.
next? What's the next
Yeah.
podcast?
I'm
Yeah,
in.
right?
I'm in. Up next is we have a semifinal on Thursday.
Oh yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. But Ashley, thank you so much. Thank you so
Of
much.
course.
I froze time. It doesn't matter. The clock. We'll take
No
the
neutral deduction.
no, I don't even care. I don't even care. The meet referee left the building.
I'm usually not that much of a talker, but you guys got me fired up. I'm ready.
uh, honestly, we're all weird talkers here, so it kept happening, and it feels like we're just making
You
it
hit
happen.
my passion project.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Ashley, for being here. It
Yeah,
means a lot to us.
of course. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Yep. And so we're heading to Fort Worth, Texas tomorrow, and we cannot wait to be there. Keep tuning in. We have a couple more interviews for you guys ahead of podium training on Wednesday. And then you know what? We got a meet preview that we even recorded that we're gonna have you guys tune in for. We hopped on with Scott Bregman and we chatted about our predictions for the week. So with that, we're closing up this episode, and we got another one coming up next. Sophia Diaz from the University of Michigan, an individual competitor, will be on the podcast. So with that, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Roll Tide.